For as long as we've been human, we've looked to the sky and wondered. We've searched for answers, for comfort, for meaning in a world that can feel chaotic and random. In the name of that search, we've built soaring cathedrals and quiet temples. We've written music that touches the divine and fought wars that have leveled empires. But what if the story of faith is far more radical than you think? What if the beliefs that guide billions of people today didn't just influence our history, but actually wrote it? From the laws we follow to the art we create, from the way we treat each other to the way we mark time itself, religion has been the driving force. How did a species focused on day-to-day survival start building complex spiritual worlds? How did small, local beliefs grow into global faiths? And how did these ideas become the blueprint for civilization? This isn't just a story about prophets and prayers. It's the story of how abstract thought became the single most powerful force in human history. Join us as we go back to the dawn of belief to find out how faith made us who we are. Long before a single holy book was written, our ancestors lived in a world alive with unseen forces. To understand how we got to world religions, we have to go back to this time, the age of animism. This was the belief that spirits were in everything: the rustle of leaves, the current of a river, the eyes of a predator. For early humans, life was about survival, but that wasn't enough. They needed to make sense of it all. Why do the seasons change? What happens when we die? Where does lightning come from? Without science, they found answers in the spiritual. The first mystics, the shamans, were their link to that spirit world. They would seek healing, guidance, or good fortune from the powers that governed their lives. People began to worship their ancestors, a way to keep their wisdom close, and maybe the first hint of a belief in an afterlife. For decades, the standard theory was that civilization came first. We settled down, started farming, and only then did we have the time for complex religion. But a discovery in southeastern Turkey blew that idea apart. It's called Göbekli Tepe. Dated to around 11,600 years ago, it's a collection of massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing 20 tons, carved with images of lions, scorpions, and vultures. The truly revolutionary thing about Göbekli Tepe is who built it. Hunter-gatherers. These were people who hadn't started farming or settled in villages. This place wasn't a home, it was a temple, a sacred site built with incredible effort by nomadic groups. This suggests that the shared need for ritual might be what brought people together in the first place. The drive to build a temple may have come before the drive to build a town. Religion wasn't a byproduct of civilization. It might have been the spark that ignited it. Once humans settled down, so did their gods. In the fertile crescent of Mesopotamia, the first cities rose, and with them the first organized pantheons of gods. For the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Egyptians, the world was filled with deities who controlled everything from the flooding of the Nile to the success of the harvest. These weren't distant gods, they were active and often moody characters in the human drama. In these societies, religion and power were the same thing. The king wasn't just a ruler, he was often seen as a god on earth, or at least the god's chosen man for the job. This divine authority was absolute. To defy the king was to defy the gods. You can see this fusion of power perfectly in the Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest legal codes ever found. At the top of the stone slab, the Babylonian king Hammurabi is shown receiving the laws directly from Shamash, the sun god. The text says the gods called on Hammurabi to make justice appear in the land and to protect the weak from the strong. This wasn't just a social contract, it was a divine command. But in the midst of all this polytheism, a totally radical idea was taking hold. Among a people in the Levant known as the Hebrews, a different kind of faith was emerging. Monotheism, the belief in a single, all-powerful God, was a massive departure from every culture around them. This God, Yahweh, wasn't tied to a specific city or a force of nature. He was the creator of everything. The heart of this new faith, Judaism, was the idea of a covenant, a sacred promise. According to the Torah, God promised Abraham that his descendants would become a great nation if they worshipped only him. Later at Mount Sinai, that promise was renewed with Moses, who received a set of divine laws, including the Ten Commandments. These weren't just rules for rituals, they were a complete ethical guide for the whole community, covering everything from crime and justice to what to eat and when to rest. With Judaism, we see religion based not just on appeasing gods, but on a sacred text, a shared story, and a moral code that would change the world. Around the same time monotheism was taking shape, an incredible period of spiritual and philosophical awakening was happening all over the world. The philosopher Karl Jaspers called it the Axial Age. Between roughly 800 and 200 BCE, in places that had no direct contact, brilliant thinkers started asking profound new questions about what it means to be human. Nowhere was this more intense than on the Indian subcontinent. Here, an ancient web of beliefs that would become Hinduism was already thriving. Unlike many other faiths, Hinduism doesn't have one single founder or one single holy book. It's more like a library of traditions that grew over thousands of years. Early texts like the Vedas described a host of gods and complex rituals led by a priestly class, the Brahmins. But over time, new ideas began to surface in texts called the Upanishads. They explored concepts that are still central to Hindu thought today. There's Dharma, your moral duty and the cosmic order of things. There's Karma, the universal law of cause and effect, where your actions in this life shape your next one. And there's Samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. For a soul stuck in this cycle, the ultimate goal is moksha, liberation and becoming one with ultimate reality. This gave a powerful explanation for why people suffer and a clear path to escape it. It was in this rich spiritual environment that a new challenger to the old ways appeared. Around the 6th century BCE, a prince named Siddhartha Gautama left his palace to figure out the root cause of human suffering. After years of meditation, he found his answer under the Bodhi tree and became the Buddha, the Enlightened One. The Buddha's teachings were both simple and revolutionary. He taught the Four Noble Truths. Life is suffering. Suffering comes from our cravings and attachments. We can end that suffering, and the way to end it is to follow the Eightfold Path, a practical guide to ethics, mental discipline, and wisdom. This path to liberation or nirvana was open to anyone no matter their caste or status. It didn't depend on priests or gods, but on your own personal effort. It was a universal message, which is why Buddhism spread so far beyond India, shaping much of Asia and becoming one of the world's great religions. While India was exploring rebirth, the Axial Age was sparking a different kind of thinking in China. Two philosophies emerged that were less concerned with the next life and more focused on how to live harmoniously in this one: Confucianism and Taoism. Confucius, a scholar and government official from the 6th century BCE, was deeply disturbed by the chaos and war he saw around him. His solution wasn't a new god, but a practical, ethical roadmap for a stable society. Confucianism is all about cultivating virtue, especially benevolence and respect for tradition. It places a huge emphasis on social roles summed up in the 5 relationships: ruler and subject, father and son, husband and wife, older and younger brother, and friend. Confucius believed that if everyone simply fulfilled their duties with sincerity, society would naturally find its balance. This philosophy became the foundation of Chinese culture and government for more than 2,000 years. Offering a different perspective was Taoism, usually credited to the sage Laozi. If Confucianism was about structuring society, Taoism was about finding your own place in the natural flow of the universe, the Tao. The core idea is Wu Wei, or effortless action. It doesn't mean being lazy, it means acting in a way that is spontaneous and natural, like water flowing around a rock instead of trying to smash through it. Taoism turned away from rigid rules, arguing for a simpler, more intuitive way of living. Together, these two philosophies built a cultural bedrock for one of the world's oldest civilizations, influencing everything from art and medicine to politics. Back in the West, that monotheistic seed planted by Judaism was about to grow into a force that would reshape the world. In the Roman province of Judea, in the 1st century CE, a Jewish preacher named Jesus of Nazareth began a ministry that would launch the world's largest religion, Christianity. Jesus' teachings were deeply rooted in Jewish tradition. He affirmed the one God and the authority of the Hebrew Scriptures. But he also preached a radical message of love, forgiveness, and salvation for all. He taught that the kingdom of God was near and that he was the Messiah, the Son of God, sent to save humanity. For his followers, his crucifixion and resurrection were the ultimate proof. They believed that faith in Jesus was the path to forgiveness and eternal life. What started as a small Jewish sect spread with incredible speed, largely thanks to missionaries like the Apostle Paul, who insisted the message was for everyone, not just Jews. Its promise of salvation and its embrace of the poor and marginalized gave it huge appeal across the Roman Empire. Even after waves of brutal persecution, the faith kept growing. The turning point came in 313 CE, when the Roman Emperor Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, granting Christianity legal status. Less than a century later, it became the official state religion. Christianity didn't just survive the Roman Empire, it transformed it, laying the spiritual and cultural groundwork for Western civilization. 600 years later, on the Arabian Peninsula, the third great Abrahamic faith arrived. In the city of Mecca, a merchant named Muhammad began receiving what he believed were messages from God delivered by the angel Gabriel. These revelations, written down in the Quran, are the foundation of Islam. The word Islam itself means submission, and a Muslim is one who submits to the will of Allah, the one God. The message of Islam was pure, uncompromising monotheism. It called people back to the original faith of Abraham and other prophets like Moses and Jesus, who are also revered in Islam. Muhammad is seen as the final prophet. The core duties of the faith are simple and clear, laid out in the 5 pillars: a declaration of faith, daily prayer, charity, fasting during Ramadan, and if possible a pilgrimage to Mecca. This powerful message quickly united the tribes of Arabia. After Muhammad's death, his successors, the caliphs, spread the faith with astonishing speed. Within 100 years, an Islamic empire stretched from Spain to India, creating a civilization that would lead the world in science, math, and philosophy for centuries. The story of religion is still being written. In the 15th century, Sikhism arose in India, teaching a message of one God, human equality, and selfless service. In the 19th century, the Baha'i faith emerged from Persia, teaching the unity of God, religion, and all people. And countless indigenous traditions continue to thrive all over the globe. Today, the numbers are staggering. Christianity is the largest religion with about 2.4 billion followers. Islam is second with nearly 2 billion. Hinduism and Buddhism together account for over 1.6 billion more. Our calendars, our holidays, our laws, and our deepest moral beliefs are all tied to these ancient traditions. Even the idea of universal human rights has roots in the religious concept that every single person has an inherent dignity, but this legacy is a complicated one. Faith has inspired some of the greatest art ever created, from the Sistine Chapel to the Taj Mahal. It has fueled movements for justice, charity, and peace. It has also been used to justify division, oppression, and horrific violence, from the Crusades to modern conflicts. In our modern secular world, these faiths face new questions. Science offers different answers about the universe, and globalization forces people of all beliefs to live side by side. And yet, religion endures. It continues to give billions a sense of meaning, community, and purpose. The conversation and sometimes the conflict between faith and modernity is one of the defining stories of our time. From the mysterious carvings at Göbekli Tepe to the global networks of believers today, the story of religion is really the story of our search for meaning. We saw how the need to understand the world gave us spirits and shamans, how the need for order fused gods with governments, and how revolutionary thinkers gave us new ways to see our place in the universe. These faiths did more than just offer comfort. They gave us the blueprints for civilization. They shaped our laws, our art, and our very identity. The rise of world religions wasn't a footnote in history. It was a force that created the world we all live in. Whether you believe or not, we are all living in a world built by faith. The questions these ancient traditions tried to answer, who are we, why are we here, how should we live, are the very same questions we're still asking today. What part of religious history do you find the most surprising? Let us know in the comments below. We read them all. And if you enjoyed this, please give this video a like and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces that shaped our world. Thanks for watching.